Yeah. So this is gonna be a recap of everything from Jenkins to Maven to what was it, Sonar Cube to Nexus to Tomcat to Docker, everything we've done to Prometheus, 3V, everything. So we're going to be using both the our virtual box, virtual machine on prem, and also AWS cloud, and break to bridge that gap between cloud and our laptop, we're going to be using the Cloudflare for our like our VPN and our domain, okay, so that our virtual box will be able to communicate with the cloud. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So please, let's listen attentively. If you have a question, click that sign, raise up your hand, and I will see it. I will ask you because I'm recording. So I really don't want this to be as long as what we normally do. So this is going to be like a run through from the beginning. Now, from the beginning, I said, okay, always we should have installed what is it called, on our laptop. We should have installed Vagrant, VirtualBox, Git, and the rest on our laptop, right? Now, this is from the scratch, from the beginning. What do we have to do, or what do we need to do right now? After bringing up your what is it called, terminal, you can use either this terminal or um, if you're on Windows, you can use you can use this your Git, or you can use your you can use Git, you can use Visual Studio Code. Anyone that works for you works fine. Either this, your terminal, your command line on Windows, your Git on Windows, Visual Studio Code on both Windows and Mac. Either one works. So if you have this, then you are good to go. Now the next thing is we want to use Vagrant to deploy our virtual machines. And once we use Vagrant to deploy our virtual machines, what happens? Once we use Vagrant to deploy our virtual machines, the virtual machine will be deployed on our Oracle VirtualBox right here. So I have this Oracle VirtualBox right here running. You might not have any, that's fine. But how did I deploy all these virtual machines here on my laptop? I'm going to be using Vagrant. So we don't have to download an image, ISO image, or anything to start deploying. No, Vagrant is going to help us to automatically deploy the virtual machine on our virtual box. So that is the work of Vagrant, and the relationship between Vagrant and VirtualBox is very tight. VirtualBox is the provider. VirtualBox is the provider for virtual machine for Vagrant. So Vagrant deploys virtual machines on VirtualBox. So these are all different virtual machines running. So Vagrant deploys these virtual machines on VirtualBox. Virtual machines are just servers. Are virtual because they are virtual because they are not physical. I want us to understand the relationship now. They are virtuals because they are not physical servers. So that's why we call them virtual machines. Now, physical servers are hardware servers that you can see anywhere, maybe in your data center or anywhere. But right now, these are the same servers, but these are virtual servers. So those servers are virtualized, and these are the servers. That's why we call them virtual machines. So what are we using to host this virtual machine is called the virtual box. Now, what is deploying that virtual machine for us on this virtual box is Vagrant. So Vagrant is what we are using to deploy these virtual machines on VirtualBox. So that is just it. Now the next thing is, I want you to go to your folder, open a folder. Let me minimize this and put this right here. Open a folder. You can go to documents, anywhere you feel like, go there, create a folder called vagrant machines. Then open the folder and you can create another folder called VMs. Okay, VMs, which is virtual machines. Now in that folder, this will be like our root folder now. So inside this folder, you can create different folders here. So all of these folders that you are going to be creating are going to be the servers, are going to be what the all of these folders are going to be the server name for the servers for the virtual machine we're going to be creating. Now if you see, I have 4 folders here. Now this Kubernetes is a group of servers, so I have 3 servers in this Kubernetes. Now you can see this new CI/CD server, this is it here, new CI/CD server. You can see Cloudflare, this is it here, Cloudflare. You can see Ubuntu CI/CD, I've already removed that, I've deleted that, so it's not there anymore. So any name you name these folders now are going to be the name of the servers you are deploying. So please, I want you to note that. Now the next thing is, I will create a folder now I want to deploy a new virtual machine, VirtualBox, a new virtual machine on my VirtualBox. Now I will create a folder and I'll name it. Now this is going to be my Jenkins server, right? I will say, I'll just type Jenkins server, right? Now this is the name of the folder, Jenkins server. Then the next thing is, I'm going to open my terminal from this folder. All you need to do is highlight on the folder, right click and say open that's new terminal at folder. You can see new terminal at folder. Click on it. Now this is the terminal, and this is, let me make it big for us to see. Now this is the terminal, and this terminal is opened from this directory, Jenkins server. You can see it. So we are in our folder, and this terminal is opened from this particular folder right here. So the next thing is, how do we deploy the server? That is what Vagrant does. Vagrant. So we'll go to our browser. Now this is our browser. All you need to do is type Vagrant. Type Vagrant. Go to documents, docs. Now go to boxes. Click on overview. Then you should click on, let me see, VirtualBox. Then let me see. Let's click on boxes first. Let me see. Okay, Vagrant boxes. Let me see. Okay, let's click on this. Sorry, this. Let's see. It's supposed to open. Yes, it's opening. Now that's just it. Let me do that again one more time. Open a new browser. Click on Vagrant. Just type Vagrant. It will open up this website, and at the docs, click on it. Then click on boxes. Then overview from the boxes. Then you will see discover boxes, public Vagrant box catalogs. Click on it. It should open a page for you where all the boxes are. Now we want to select, we are trying to create an Ubuntu server right now. So now, how do we search for the server? Just search for Ubuntu. Ubuntu 24 is fine for me. I will search for it. I like this box name, so I always use this box. I will click on it. After clicking on it, all we need to do is copy this command. You can see, just click on this. This should copy the command for you. Click on it and go back to your go back to the terminal. All we need to do is paste it in there. Paste the command in there, and that's it. You can see it's pasted, right? Then enter. Once you write enter, it's going to create a file called vagrant file for us. Now this vagrant file, we need to do what? We need to edit it. This is the file that will create our server for us. We need to edit this file. Now if I do ls, you can see the file right here. Now I can choose to use vi. If you are working with Mac, vi works. Vi is an editor. Now if you are working with Mac, vi works. If you are working with Windows, vi does not work. You have to use a notepad to edit the file. Now the best way to edit this file, to me, I would say we should use Visual Studio Code, to edit this file. Visual Studio Code. So I will bring up my Visual Studio Code. That's what I like to use in editing my file. I'll bring up my Visual Studio Code and I'll open the folder. And what was the folder? I will say open folder. Yeah, maybe wait, I'll come to you. Open folder, and this is the folder name, Jenkins server. So you go to where you have the folder. Me, I have it in documents, virtual machines, VMs, and Jenkins server. So I will open the folder. Now once I open the folder, I have the file right here. This is the file that got created for me to edit. Now what do I need to edit in this file? First of all, I will scroll down to the network part of it, which we have the on line 36 and line 41. So this is for the private IP address of our virtual machines. I will uncomment that and I will change this to, I will leave it at 31, maybe 11. Then I will uncomment this so that our virtual machine is going to get a public IP that is going to be used to communicate publicly. So I will comment that. That is just the essence. Then I will scroll all the way down to line 60. I will uncomment this. I will uncomment this for the memory of the server. I will change it to 4096. Let me change it to that. Then I will uncomment this. So this is going to be for 4 gig. So the memory is 4 gig memory now. Now after doing this, I will add one more line, which is going to be vb dot cpus equals to 2. So I'm adding 2 gig memory to this server. These are the configurations of the server. Now after doing this, all we need to do is save it. Save the file. Now I always enable autosave because sometimes I might forget to save my files and it's not going to work properly. So always enable autosave. For people like me that forget stuff easily, I enable autosave, but still save it. Okay, now that I've saved it, I will close this because I don't need it anymore. Let me minimize this, then I'll go back to my file, which is the file I just edited from Visual Studio Code. So I don't need the VI anymore. So I've already edited this file now from Visual Studio Code. Now after I've done that, all I need to do is vagrant up. Vagrant up will deploy the server for us right here. Now you can see I have 1 2 3 4 5 servers. Now if I do vagrant up, additional server will be up, and that server will start with Jenkins server, then other random names follows. Now let me do vagrant up. Once I do vagrant up, it's going to bring up the server. That's what it's going to do. It's going to bring up the server. Now let's watch. I can see a server is just being added. Now you can see the name. Then it might ask you which interface should the network bridge to. I will choose 1. You might see Wi-Fi. Choose the one with the Wi-Fi. Now I'm not using Wi-Fi. I'm using a cable, Ethernet cable with my internet. So that's why I'm choosing 1. Okay, it's a LAN. So I'll choose 1 and select it. So my server is going to be using my internet cable network to communicate. So that's why I chose 1. So now it's creating the server for us automatically. You can see you don't have to stress yourself to create servers now. It just creates the server for us automatically. We don't have to stress ourselves. Then I remember then when I was learning Linux system admin, I had to go download the image, the ISO, import it. Sometimes the image download for like 5 hours because the images were like 2 gig, 1 point something gig then. So it takes time to download, and even after downloading it might not work. I have to go. So it was a whole lot, but thank God for Vagrant, and it helps a lot with deploying servers on our local machine. This is just the street. See, this is one of the most simplest way to automate the deployment of our Vagrant machine or virtual machines. If you have any issues, the issues are either from your laptop as a Windows user, or you've not installed Vagrant and you've not installed virtual machines, VirtualBox. These are the 2 issues you encounter. So, or your laptop is running on old version of OS operating system. These are the common issues you will encounter when you are doing this. Now, my server is up and running. You can see it. The server is running now. So how do we log in into the server? Let me clear my screen. How do we log in into the server? All we need to do is just Vagrant SSH. That's all we need to do. Vagrant what? Vagrant SSH. That's all we need to do. Vagrant SSH. So once we run Vagrant SSH, it will log us in into our server. You can see it logs us in into our server, Vagrant server. Very simple. Now we are inside this. You can see this was our laptop. Now I did Vagrant SSH. It logs me in into the virtual machine. That is just it. And that is how to log in into our servers. Okay, that is how to log in into our servers. Now I've logged into this server. Now this server is going to be a Jenkins server, right? This server is supposed to be a Jenkins server. That is what this server is supposed to be. This server is supposed to be what? A Jenkins server. So we need to install Jenkins. Before you can install Jenkins, we need Java. Now we're going to install Java and install Jenkins. Then we'll install Maven because we want to use Maven with our Jenkins, right? So that's fine. These are all we're going to be installing in our server. Now before we start installing, I want to assume as root, which is sudo su. I'm going to assume as root. Now I've assumed as root, not sudo-i. Sudo-i will switch you to root, but I don't want to switch to root. I just want to assume as root. Okay. Now the next thing is, let's set our host name. What is our host name? I will say host name ctl set dash host name. What is going to be the host name? I will say Jenkins server. That's the host name. Then all we need to type is sudo su again. Once you type sudo su, you can see it changes to what? Jenkins server. The host name changes permanently to Jenkins server. Now we've done that. The first thing is to install. Let's install our Java first. Let's install Java, right? Let's install Java. And how do we install Java? It's very simple. We need Java 21, JDK 21, and Java 11. So the difference between Java 21 and Java 11, I'm going to explain it. Now, if you are installing Java 21, which is this, apt install open JDK 21. The problem is that Jenkins will start up with Java 21, but Maven is going to use Java 11 based on the source code we've built. is going to, so Maven is going to use Java 11 within Jenkins, but Jenkins is going to start with Java 21. I want us to know that by now. We should know that by now, that our Jenkins starts up with Java 21, and Maven inside Jenkins will use Java 11 to operate. So that's it. Now let's install Java 21. Now we are installing Java 21. That's just it. It's very simple now, direct and straightforward. Now we are installing Java 21. Now after he said, okay, it failed to install Java 21. You know why? We need to update this server first. Now let's update the server. apt-update update the server. apt-update should update the server. Now first of all, you need to update the server. So it says, oh, I need an update. So I've updated the server. Then let's install the Java 21 again, and you won't get an error now because your server is updated. So it should install Java 21 for us. So after installing Java 21, the next thing is to install Java 11. So this installation process is very straightforward. Now the first thing is to update. The second thing is to install Java 21. Then after installing Java 21, we'll install Java. Now it has installed. So the next thing is, let's install Java 11. So we're installing both Javas, Java 21 and Java 11 right now. So I'm installing Java 11 right now. So let's install Java. Okay, Java 11 has been installed. You can see Java 11 has been installed. So after Java 11 is installed, the next thing is, maybe I know you have a question. You're going to ask a question. Don't worry. Let me just finish this installation, then you ask your question. Okay. Now the next thing is to install Jenkins on this server. How do we install Jenkins on this server? Definitely, I gave us a link to install Jenkins, right? I gave us a link. This is the link. So once you click on this link, I'm going to send that to us or in the description, so you get that. Now this is the documentation for Jenkins, to install Jenkins on our laptop, right? Now scroll all the way down to Ubuntu, because we are installing Ubuntu. So Debian Ubuntu flavor, that's what we are working with. So the first thing is to copy this. I will copy that and I will run it. I will copy that and I will run it. Then enter. Now it has installed the key strings. Now let's go back with this is the repository, and I'm going to copy that and run it also. I'm going to copy that and run, and it has run. Then the next thing is we will update the server. I don't need sudo because I've assumed as root, so I don't need sudo. So I'll copy it without the sudo. Sudo is just super user doer. So now that went through, updated successfully. Now I'm going to install Jenkins. Now this is me installing Jenkins. Let me add -y in front so it won't ask me questions. So I'm going to install Jenkins. Now I'm installing Jenkins, which is pretty much straightforward, and I think installing Jenkins is just taking us like 15 minutes. Installing everything right now should take, installing Jenkins, Maven, everything should take us like 20 minutes if we know it very well. You understand the process, and it shouldn't take us more than 20 minutes to install everything, both the servers, everything. It's going to take us like 20 minutes to do that. So pretty much Jenkins has been installed and automatically started for us. So Jenkins is installed and it has automatically started also. Now how do we check the status of our application? Jenkins systemctl status Jenkins. Let's check it. Now you can see it's running. So what we're going to do is, I need to set some environment. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop Jenkins. We're going to stop the application. So let me stop the application. It's going to be systemctl stop Jenkins. So I need to stop Jenkins. Now I've stopped it. Now the next thing is we need to edit the environment variable for Jenkins application. But before that, Nano, the default editor for Nano is the default editor for Ubuntu is Nano. So I need to change the editor to Vim, which is the updated VI. So I'll copy this and I will say dash dash config, then editor. So I need to change the default editor for our Ubuntu, because the default editor for Ubuntu is Nano, and I'm not a fan of Nano. I really don't like editing with Nano. I prefer Vim or VI. So I'm going to change the default editor and I'll select 3. You can see the default editor is Nano, so I want to use 3, which is the Vim, which is the basic. So I'm going to select 3 and enter. My editor has been changed to VI or Vim now. So I need to edit Jenkins and set some environments now. So I'm going to do that by running systemctl edit Jenkins. That's what I need to do. I will open it, and on this path I'm going to set the environment variable. So we also have this environment variable in the document, which I'm going to be putting in the description also, or sending it to us directly. So I'm going to set this is the environment path for Jenkins from the Java, and I'm going to set the second one. It's actually 2 environment paths. So I'm going to do that, and this is it. Now you can see we've created that. So the thing is, this path, we need to create what? This path, this temp file, this temp folder. I've not created this, so I need to create it. So let's save this first. Save it. To save, you have to go in escape mode, then $WQI to forcefully save it. Now it's been saved. Now let's create all the paths. Let's make the directory temp. The temp was in the environment we created. So this is it. We are making, so you can see we are creating a directory called temp inside the Jenkins, in the catch folder and in the var folder. So I will do that. Then I will change the ownership of that. I will change what? The ownership. So how do we do that? This is it. With chown. So chown is change ownership of this file. Now we are changing, so the ownership was root. Now we are changing it to Jenkins. So there are some users in Linux called application users. So when we install Jenkins, Jenkins created its own user, which is called the application user. So we want Jenkins to own these guys right now. So now that's what we are doing. We are changing the ownership, and the dash uppercase R means recursive. Dash uppercase R means what? Recursive. So Jenkins is going to own all the files and folders inside. So I will run that, and that is done. So once we do that, let's start our Jenkins. So I will recall the command to start Jenkins back. Let me say, okay, I think we just have starter. So let me edit this to start Jenkins. So I will say systemctl start Jenkins, and I will run it, and this should start Jenkins for us. This should start with Jenkins. Now our Jenkins has been started. Now let's check the status. Let's check the status of our Jenkins, of our application. Okay, it started and is running, no problem. You can see it started and it's running with what? No problem. Now that it started, see this actually right here is the what? Is the admin passcode to log in into Jenkins application. This is the admin passcode. If you don't want to copy this, you can actually get the passcode from here also, from this path. So you have to cut this part, initial admin password. You have to cut it, concatenate it to get the password. But right now, this is the admin password to use in logging in. So I will copy this. If you can't see this, or if you don't see this, all you need to do is cut this line. But even though if you don't want to do that, once you want to log in to your Jenkins, what happened? They will tell you where the password is. Now, how do I get the IP address of this server? Don't forget, this server is running in our what, our local machine, our laptop as a VM. So what is the IP address? I will say if config, you can get the IP with if config. Right now this is going to be the public, this is the private IP address. Now if you go down, this is the public IP address, this is the public IP address, and this is the private IP address. Now let's copy the public IP address, let's use it to access our Jenkins. So I'll paste it here. Jenkins is on port what? Port 8080. So you put colon 8080 and enter. So once you enter, it will open it for you. Now you can see they say for you to get the password, you have to cut this line. It's the same line, so let's copy it and go back and get the password. So I'll say cut that line, I'll paste it. You can see once I cut it, it shows me the password. You can see it's the same password. So I'll copy the password and I'll go back to our Jenkins. I will paste it, continue, install the suggested plugins. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm installing the suggested plugins right now. So let's see what's going to happen. We are installing the suggested plugins right now on our system. Okay, okay, it's taking few time, but it's going to install finally. So it's installing our suggested plugins. Is installing our suggested plugins. Once it's done, I'm going to continue. Okay, it's almost done. Now it's done. So we need to create the first admin user first. So my first admin user will be Bolaji. The password is going to be password, your password, put your own password. So I'll put my full name and my email address, then I'll continue, and that's it. Now this is our Jenkins server. This is our Jenkins application. So let me make it big so that you can see it. Now this is our Jenkins application. You see it's very simple and direct. It's what? Very simple and direct. This is our Jenkins application. So ABB, you have a question, ask me your question. Put on your videos, please. Put on your video. If you don't put on your video,
my question was just when you did it with Visual Studio Code. I went to try that style because you did the last video. The last video was Visual Style.
please. Oh, sorry. Can you come again? I can't
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
The question was that because you edited the file with Visual Studio Code, the last class, so I was wanted you to try that style. You know, you said you have to do a notepad or anything else. So.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not using a Windows, so I can't use a notepad to edit it. But why not just use Visual Studio Code to edit it? Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, so now the next thing is we have our Jenkins set up already. So our Jenkins application is already set up and we're good to go. Now the next thing is let's install Maven, because we also need Maven. So we'll go back to our server. And this is our virtual box, our virtual machine. Then we install Maven. All we just need to do to install Maven is apt install Maven -y. So easy and straightforward. That's all we need to install Maven. App install Maven -y, and we've installed Maven. So if I say nvn -version, it shows us our Maven path. This is the path we're going to use. Now, if I want to check our Java part, all we need to do is ls user lib jvm. It's going to list. So we are using Java 11 path. This is it. Now let's go back to our application and set up our application. Now we have this is our Jenkins application, and Jenkins is for CI, continuous integration. So Jenkins is a CI tool. It's used to automate any process, any kind of process. Jenkins can be used to automate that process, either running Terraform, running deployment in AWS, running deployment in Azure, in Google, in GCP, anything. Jenkins can run it. A lot of plugins are integrated with Jenkins right now. So Jenkins is one of the best used tools for automation. Jenkins, and we have different tools for CI. Not only Jenkins, but Jenkins is one of the most used, then followed by Azure DevOps, then either Argo CD or Bamboo CI and the rest. But Jenkins is one of the most used, then followed by Azure DevOps. Now that we've done this, the next thing is let's edit our system environment, the tools we want to use. Now the first tool we are using is our JDK. So let's edit our JDK. Now this is our dashboard. You go to manage Jenkins, then you go to tools. You want to set the tools, then you add your JDK. Now what is the name you want to give to the JDK? Is my JDK. Then what is the Java home directory of JDK? So definitely we have the home directory. This is the home directory of JDK. We are using what? JDK 11. But where is the path? Excuse me. Where is the path to this JDK 11? Is right here. User lib jvm. I'll copy that and I'll paste it. Now, this is not the full Java home directory. If I should click outside, it gives us an error. So where is the Java itself? The Java is in this path. So we have to copy the Java itself. Now let me go back and copy the Java itself right now. Then we'll copy our Java right here. This is our Java 11. So don't forget, Java 21 starts Jenkins. You can see Java 21 starts Jenkins itself. Without Java 21, Jenkins won't start. So Java 21 is what starts Jenkins. So, but we want Maven to use Java 11 right here. So I'll paste it, Java 11. And you can see once I click on outside, the error prompt went off. Now let's set, by default, Jenkins is already in Ubuntu. So we don't have to install anything on Git. I mean, is installed in Ubuntu, so Git is by default. Now let's set up Maven. Now Maven is what I will call this Maven 4. Then I'm not going to install automatically. I'm going to set the path. I want Jenkins to use the Maven we've installed in the server. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Maven is going to use what? Jenkins is going to use the Maven we've installed in the server, and this is the Maven path. You can see it right here on top. That's the Maven path. I'll copy it and I'll paste it back right here, and that is it. And all we need to do is apply and save. That's all we need to do. Apply and save. So right now our server has been configured, and with Java, Jenkins, Maven, with Git. So these are the steps. Now before we move ahead, we talked about Cloudflare, right? First of all, Cloudflare is like a VPN that allows our local system, our local machine. Let me say these are the local machine right here. It allows your local machine communicate with the public system or to the internet. So without the Cloudflare, you need to actually open a port forwarding. You need to open what? A port forwarding from your ISP, that is the internet service provider. You need to open a port forwarding. But right now We don't want to do that. So Cloudflare is helping us to do a whole lot with that. Cloudflare is a secured environment that allows our server to communicate to the public. All we need to do is just specify the port that you want to go outside, and everything goes outside with Cloudflare. So now we're going to set that so that Jenkins can communicate with public servers and all other servers in the public, and it will be secure. Cloudflare also secure that with certificates, ACM. Then let's go to our browser and open Cloudflare. I'll just click here and say Cloudflare. I'll search that, and all I need to do is, let me click on this Cloudflare dashboard. You can click on Cloudflare, log in, and do a lot of stuff. So me, I've already logged in, so I just click on the Cloudflare dashboard. Now, to run with Cloudflare, you need to first of all set up a domain. Cloudflare won't work without a domain, so Cloudflare works with a domain. Now, if you don't have understanding on Cloudflare, I will advise us, let's go and watch the video on Tuesday, the Tuesday's class videos. Please, if it's only that Cloudflare you need, just go to the Cloudflare part and watch the video, then you continue from here. You need to know how to set up what? Cloudflare. So let's go and set up Cloudflare. I'm coming. I don't know what happened to my system. Okay, it's on back, and we are back. So I'm setting up Cloudflare right now. If you don't know how to set it up, go and watch the video. You'll be able to get Cloudflare. But what is the essence of Cloudflare? The essence of Cloudflare is to make our virtual machines on our laptop be able to communicate to the public, and the public laptop will be able to communicate to our virtual machine. That's just the project. That's the reason for Cloudflare. And this communication are encrypted. Encryption in transit security. So please go to the Tuesday's class video. If you don't understand Cloudflare, or if you want to learn how to use Cloudflare, go there and see the setup, how to create it, create your own domain. It's just $5 or something. Create your own domain and start using Cloudflare. So to set up this Cloudflare, I will go to Zero Trust. I'll click on Networks, and you'll see my tunnel. This is my tunnel for Cloudflare. And don't forget, this is your tunnel. If you want it to be healthy, watch that video and set up everything. Now my tunnel is healthy cause why? Because I have Cloudflare server running. So the Cloudflare environment server is deployed in this server. So without this server, the Cloudflare won't be healthy. So please go back. You can see it's been on for 14 hours. That means you can see I'm not paying for anything. For the server, I'm not paying. So I can leave it on for 20 years. It will still be on and be working, because the server hosting this Cloudflare for me is deployed on my laptop. So that's the advantage. So now I have the tunnel. All we need to do is these three dots, click on it and click on configure, then click on public host names. So I've done a lot of hands-on, and I created these public host names. Now let me delete all of them. Let me see. Deleting will prevent user from accessing resources on this host name. This action cannot be undone. Yes. So I'm going to delete everything. So that we do ours. So I'm deleting that. I'm deleting this. And I will delete this also. So if you are doing it for the first time, this is just what you are going to see, empty. Then you have to create a public host name. You click on it. Now what is the subdomain? You want to give it to be Jenkins, because you want to use it for Jenkins server. So I'll type Jenkins. Now after I've typed Jenkins, the domain, I've already created the domain in Cloudflare. I'll pick it. Don't worry about the path. Now, the type, the service is HTTP. Then what is the URL? The URL is going to be the Jenkins URL. Mr. Kola, I'm coming. You ask me your question. So the path, so the URL is going to be your Jenkins server IP. Don't get confused. Let me go back to the server to get the IP for us. So this is our Jenkins server. Now, what is the IP of this Jenkins? I will say if config. Now, this is the IP of Jenkins, the public IP of Jenkins server. I will click on it and copy it. You can see this is the public IP. Then I'll go back to the Cloudflare. Right here, I will put the IP there. Then what port is Jenkins using? Port 8080. I'll put column 8080 there. And I'm going to save this. So once you save this, now it's saved. Now, Jenkins, we're going to be using this DNS, this hostname, to communicate with the public. This is what Jenkins is going to be using to communicate with the public right now. So even if we have other servers in AWS cloud that needs to communicate to the server on our laptop, this is what they're going to be using to communicate. So if I should click on it and click here, it's going to open Jenkins. You can see it opens Jenkins for us, and I will log in, and it logs me in. And don't see, it's also secure. HTTPS is secure. So instead of using the IP address and port 8080, we're no more going to be using this. We're just going to be using this. So our Jenkins is going to be on this. So this is our Jenkins endpoint right now. So to log in, you can see just the URL, and I'm inside my Jenkins server. Okay, Mr. Kola, what's your question?
So in like a work environment, who is in charge? Like who? Say I want to introduce Cloudflare now as a solution, right?
Okay.
Who is in charge of like setting it up, basically? Because buying the domain, maybe like getting the domain and then setting up this, for the.
Okay, basically in work environment, you guys should have stand-ups, scrum meetings, and stuff like that, right? If a company just employed you, they won't give it to you that, okay, you need to go and set up all of this or do this. Only if you are working with a startup company. So they are working with your idea, because you are the one setting up everything. And you can, so if you are setting up everything, then you don't need, most of the time you don't need what's it called, Cloudflare. If you are going to be needing it, maybe it's for something different, maybe for Route 53 domain name and stuff like that, you can be needing it. But if you're already in the cloud, AWS, then you might not need Cloudflare. In a very standard environment, you guys are going to be using AWS VPN to communicate to your on-prem. We right now, we can't create that because we'll be paying a lot of money to create a VPN to communicate to our laptop. We're going to be paying a lot of money. Okay, so we can't create a VPN in AWS. So Cloudflare is like a VPN for us to communicate to. It's like an hybrid environment now. That is what Cloudflare is doing for us right now. So if you are working in a standard organization, a company, then you are going to be using VPN. You need to create a virtual private network to connect to your on-prem with what is it called, gateway. So that's just it. But Cloudflare, most companies use Cloudflare also, and right now you can see what Cloudflare can do. Cloudflare can do a whole lot. But today's class is not about Cloudflare. It's about how can our cloud environment communicate with our on-prem environment. That is what we are doing right now. So if your company has a data center and you want communication with your cloud and data center, all you need to do is set up a VPN connection or direct connect. Those are the two major connectivities for an hybrid environment. A VPN is over the internet. Direct connect is a physical connection. So that's what you need to do. You don't need Cloudflare. Now, if you want to do this in AWS, do you want to tell me you don't know how to do it? if you want to do this now in AWS, all you need is what? A certificate. You need route 53 domain name in AWS. You can still do all of this in AWS also, but the most important thing is the connectivity in AWS and on-prem, which is the hybrid environment. All you need to do is use a VPN or a direct connect. Now without that, now we can't start setting up a VPN, which is expensive, for just our AWS account to our laptop. Then Cloudflare comes in to help us out. Other people use Cloudflare for a lot of stuff, so go through it and understand it. You can use Cloudflare for a whole lot of stuff, but right now this is what we are using the Cloudflare for. Am I understood?
Yes.
Okay, so now this is our Jenkins application. Now we've set up our endpoint. Please, if you have a question, to ask me now, please. I want you guys to ask me if you have a question now, please, before we continue. Ask me now.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay, sir.
I noticed something I want to ask. Is there a procedure that, or there's no procedure that you must install the Maven before you install Jenkins?
Okay.
Or because I noticed you installed Jenkins before you now install the build to Maven.
Yes, so I don't need to install Maven first. Maven is a build tool, right? Now, what do I want to use Maven with? I want to use it with Jenkins. So it's right, I can install it anyhow, but it's just right that I need to install Jenkins first before I install Maven, because I'm going to be using Maven inside Jenkins. So why should I install Maven first? It's just, but we can install anyone. But nevertheless, when you are installing, Java is one of the first things you need to install. Java. It's one of the first things you need to install. Java. If you say you want to install Java last and you want to install Maven or Jenkins, you're going to be getting error or issues. So Java should be the first thing you will install. Java should be the first thing. So that's it.
And have to be Java 21, right?
Yes, Java 21 and Java 11. Java 21 and Java 11. Yes, that's what I installed. Java 21 and Java 11. Okay. So, any other question? Yeah. Do you have any question? Do you have any questions? You don't have any question. Okay. So now we've installed our Jenkins, and you can see the URL is secure, and you can start using this instead of using the IP address column 8080. We can start using this to access our Jenkins. And don't forget, this Jenkins is set up where? Set up on our laptop. It's set up on our laptop inside the virtual box using Vagrant. It's wonderful, right? We don't have to keep paying for AWS for this. Don't worry, we're going to use it. So now the next thing is what? The next thing is to start working with Jenkins. And first we need to install a plugin in our Jenkins. So let's click on it and install a plugin. You go to plugins, available plugin. Let's install pipeline. We need to install this pipeline stage view. So select it and install it. Okay, so once it's installed, we'll start creating our pipeline. Okay, so that is it. Now let's go to my dashboard, and I'll click on new item. I'll say my first pipeline, and I'll select pipeline. Then I'll say okay. So the first thing I'm creating is a pipeline. So now this is my pipeline. This pipeline, we're going to write a script. This is a declarative script. It's written in a Groovy script. This is a what? A declarative script, and it's written in Groovy script. So now this, we're going to write the Groovy script, and we understand the pipeline starts with pipeline as a whole itself. It starts like this: pipeline. let me make it bigger. It starts like this, pipeline, and curly braces, open and close. Then all we need to do is enter. So all other codes will be written in between of our pipeline. So the first thing is type pipeline, curly braces, open and close, and every other codes will be written in between right here. You get it? So that is writing our Groovy script pipeline. So let me just leave it like this. Now let's say this was how we did it, like this. So after doing this, go to the middle and enter. Then it leaves you on this point. So after that, what else? Where do we start from? We start from agent, which is equals to any. That's our agent, any, right? Now if agent is any, what does this agent any means? It means that our pipeline is going to run on any agent available. And which agent do we have right now? We have the Jenkins server, which is this server that Jenkins is installed on. That is the agent we have right now, which is the server. But now we don't have any other agent, so all the jobs are going to run in this agent. So it says agent any. It's going to just look for any agent, and this is the only agent we have, so it's going to look for this agent. So our job is going to run in this. But in future, we're going to be doing the slaves node, where we will deploy more agents and attach it to this server, and Jenkins will be running those jobs on different agents, and we'll specify with the labels. So that's what's going to happen later. So we're going to do that in future also. So agent any, right? You can see it. Agent is what? Any. Then the next thing is tools. What tools do we want to use? So we'll say tools, curly braces, open. So tools, you can see let me do something again. Curly braces open. I didn't put curly braces close. If you click enter, it will help you close. Wait, it will help you close it by default. See, I type tools, then curly braces open. If I click enter, you can see it creates a closing curly braces for me by default. So that is just another short way of writing all of this again. So now the tools I want to use, I need Maven, right? Now what is our Maven name? Maven name is Maven 4. Don't forget, you remember when we set the Maven, we said the name should be Maven 4. Then Jenkins, Java, which is our JDK. What is our JDK name? Is, I said, my JDK. Now let's confirm this name first if it's right. So I will apply and save it. Then I'll go back to my dashboard. I will say I want to confirm it. I'll go back to manage Jenkins and tools. Now from tools, JDK, what did I name JDK? You can see my JDK, that's the name. Then Maven, what did I name Maven? Maven is Maven 4. Okay, that means we are correct. So Maven is Maven 4, JDK is my JDK. So let's go back to the job, to the pipeline, and check it. Now you can see it here. Maven is Maven 4, JDK is my JDK. That means we are correct. Simple like that. Then now we want to start the stages. So what do we need? What do we want to do? We want to build an application. Where is the application? The application is in our GitHub repository, right? Now this is going to be what we call stages. Now we'll say stages, curly braces open. I'll press enter. You can see it creates the close curly braces for me. Now stages is outside of tools. Don't put stages inside of tools. Or stages is, I can see this is tools. You can see tools open, tools close. You can see pipeline open, pipeline close. Agent does not have any. Tools open, tools close. Then stages open, stages close. So inside these stages is where we have all the stage of what we want to create. All the stage of what we want to create, we'll create them inside this stage. And also understand the indentations. The indentations are very, very important. The indentations, you need to understand how they are being indented. Okay, please, this is very important. You need to understand how they are being indented. They are very important also. So with indentations, if you indent correctly, I'll be able to understand what you've done. I can read your code, but if you just write anyhow, I might not be able to understand without a good indentations. So you need to indent correctly. Okay, you need to indent correctly, please. You need to indent correctly. Indentation is very important. Without that, it won't work well. So that's just the problem. You need to indent correctly. If you don't indent correctly, we might not be able to get the or to understand your code. Now the next thing is I'm going to start stages. So in stages, that's where we have all the stage. In stages, we have all the stage. Now the first stage is called like the stage 1, where we fetch the code. Which code do we want to work with? We say stage. You can see stages, stage. Then what is it? This is where we want to fetch all the code, right? So I'll say this is 01, and this stage is to fetch code, to get the code, fetch or get the code. That is the stage name. This is the stage name. Then I'll say curly braces open. If I click enter, it will create a closing curly braces for me. You can see it actually creates a closing curly braces for me. You can see, and it creates a curly closing. So now this stage, now what are the steps? We can now put steps inside this stage. So the step, you can say steps curly braces open. It will automatically create a closing curly braces for me also, which is very important and sweet. Now the steps is git. We want to use git, right? Git. Then we'll say git branch. What is the branch of the branch we are using in GitHub? It is what? Master branch. It is what? Master branch. Then what is the URL of our code? All we need to do is the URL of our GitHub, and we all know the URL of our GitHub. So all you need to do is just put the URL of your GitHub. So I'll copy the URL of my GitHub. You all know how to copy your URL of your GitHub right now. So copy the URL of your GitHub and paste it in between. Now that is it. This is stage 1. This is the first stage. If I click outside, if there's any error, you will see a red sign here. But right now there's no error. Now let's go to the next stage. What is the next stage? You can see all stage are in stages. So the next stage the next stage is going to be stage 2, which is going to be to validate the code. So this is the code. So how do we validate this code? That is the next stage. I'll say curly braces open. So the next stage, there's steps. You can see is the same thing, steps. So steps. Now what is the step? Is a shell scripting. We're going to be running a shell scripting. So we want to validate. So is a shell script, and we will say mvn validate. That's it. mvn validate. Now this is, if I click outside, no any error, so we are good. So now the first stage is to get the code for us. Then the second stage is to validate the code. Now let's apply and try to run this, and let's see if we're going to get any error. Now you can see the first thing is going to fetch the code, then it's going to validate the code. So it fetch the code, then it's going to validate the code for us. So that's what it's doing right now. So let's wait and see. And you can also click here to see the output of everything. To see the output, you can click here like this. You can see right here. You can see this is the full logs. The first thing is Jenkins running this, and it used Git to clone the code, and the next thing is is validating, and to validate is downloading the necessary plugins from central repository of Maven, and it's going to validate the code. So let's see if it's done validating. Okay, it's done validating successfully. So let's go back to our pipeline, and you will see it's successfully validated. That means Maven actually worked, Java actually works. So now our code has been validated. Now let's go to configure again. We are still in our, let me go back to dashboard. We are still in our pipeline. Then go to configure to configure the pipeline again. Now we can add all other stages. We can do what? Add all other stages, right? Then we have the compilation stage, everything. So let me do the compile stage. I can say stage again. Don't forget, all the stages are in where? All the stage are in stages. Very important. See stages, stages open and close. All the stage are inside stages, and stages is inside pipeline. Don't forget that. It's very important. These are just the normal steps you should understand. So I'll say another stage. So this stage is going to be O3, and this stage is to compile the code, and we'll say curly braces open and steps, then curly braces open again. The step is a shell scripting. I will say shell scripting mvn compile. That's just the command, mvn compile. Let's do more stages. Then let's do another stage again. This is going to be 04. So after compile, test. So let's do test. Then test is going to be steps, and is a shell script, and it will be mvn test. Right now, let's do, you can see I must go to the end of stage, so I'll do another stage. I'll say stage, this is going to be 05, and this stage is what? This stage should be, okay, trivy. Let's do trivy which is the trivy scanning. Is a scanning tool. So let's just say trivy scan. I'll open it. I will say steps. We'll open it also, and this steps is a shell script. I'm going to copy the shell script and paste it here. This is the shell script, but first of all we need to install trivy in our server. If you don't install trivy in your server, then you won't be able to use it. So I'll go back to my server. Let me apply this and save. I'll go back to my server and install trivy in our Jenkins server. So how do we install trivy? Now let me install trivy. First of all, I will install this. I'm going to send us all this description. I will install this. Then this. I think I've already sent it to the group. Sorry. Let me see. What was running on my system? Let me copy the command again. Sorry. Oh, I didn't copy it fully. Sorry. I didn't copy the full command. My bad. So I'll copy that. Yes, that's the full command. And I'll copy this next. I didn't copy the full command. That was why. So that is it. Yeah. And I'll update the server. I'll update the server, and I will install trivy. So you need to install trivy first. It's very important. If you don't install trivy, it's not going to work. So that's that. And I'm installing trivy, and trivy is going to start working now. Trivy is installed. Trivy is installed. Wait, Sister Blessing, are you talking to us or what? Okay, thank you. if you are talking to us, please, you have to raise your hand first before you can talk to us. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that's installing Trivy. That's what installing Trivy. Can you guys see my screen though? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. I can see your screen.
You can see my screen, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm coming. Why is it showing this? Can anyone else see my screen? Is it only Mr. Olisa that I see my screen? Who else can see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay. I want everyone to be able to
I can see your screen.
Okay. I want everyone to be able to see my screen though. So, okay. So now I've installed Trivy. I'll go back to my Jenkins and configure the pipeline. Let's see. So we have till stage 5. Now let's run this first to test it if the Trivy is going to work, and I'll save it and I will just build. Okay. Now I'm building. So you can see it's validating now. After validating, it will compile. After compiling, it will test. After testing, it will do the Trivy scan. So those are the steps. So you can see stage 3 now is running. Now test stage is running. So let's see. So now that is it. Now you can see it's successful. If I should click on it, you will see that everything ran successfully. It downloaded the necessary plugins. If I go to the workspace, click the workspace, you can see this is the Trivy file. So this is the result of the Trivy. This is the result, and it scans our repository, our application repo, which is the GitHub repository. It scanned it, and this is the result of the scan. Okay, so that means our Trivy works correct. And let's go back, and we'll see the job ran successfully. And now we can add the remaining command, and the remaining command is let's see the remaining stages. Let me go to configure edit. So the remaining stages, I'm just going to copy it and paste it because it's a whole lot, so don't mind me though. So I'm just going to copy it. 6. I'm going to copy the stages and I will explain what the stages are doing. Okay, so please, from stages, you can see stage. I'll just click down and I'll paste it. Now I'm going to explain what all the stages are going to be doing now, right now. So we stop at stage 5, then stage 6 is for code review, and this is the command. You can see it. Stage 7 is for code coverage, and this is it. Stage 8 is for check style analysis, and this is it. Stage 9 is for to build our artifact, and this is it. This is a post build stage step for stage 9, which helps us to what? Archive the artifact. Then stage 10 is to create a version of our what? Artifact, and that's just it. Now let's apply it and save it. Then let's build. Now we are building it. Let's see. Once it runs, then we are going to create what we call Prometheus and Grafana. We'll attach it. So this is going to be the main class. So please, if you have any issues, all you just need to do is go back to this video and watch it. If you have any issue, go back to this video and watch the video. It's very straightforward and direct. If you have any issues, please go back to this video and watch it. Sorry, I want to be sure that this my screen is sharing. Can you guys still see my screen? Huh?
No, sir.
No, I'm not seeing the screen.
Okay, let me. I don't know what is happening. Okay, you're seeing it right now. Can you see my screen right now? Can you guys see my screen right now?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, all right. So now my job has been built successfully. You can see the job ran successfully. This one to create version of our artifact. Let's go to the workspace to see it. Workspace. Then if you go into the workspace, you will see versions, and you'll see the version of our artifact here. So okay, so our job has been created successfully. So if you want to get detailed, watch other classes. But this is just like I said, this is a run through of everything. So now we're able to do all of this. Now let's create what we call Prometheus and Grafana to monitor our environment, which is very important. Now I'm going to be creating an Ubuntu server in the cloud, not on our virtual machines. We won't be creating it on this virtual machine because your laptop might not be able to run anymore if you should create another server on your virtual. If you have a big system, sure. In short, on my other system, I deployed everything on this virtual machine. I deployed Prometheus server, Grafana server, SonarQube server, everything, Nexus server on my laptop because my laptop is big. I have 32 gig RAM, I have Core i9 and everything. So I deploy it on my laptop and everything works perfectly. That was, if you are in that what was it called, the Slack, that was what I was doing here all through yesterday, testing it, and everything ran successfully. I troubleshooted and everything ran successfully. So that's it. Now for the purpose of this class, our Prometheus server is going to be in the cloud, which is an EC2 instance. So I'll create an EC2 instance. I'll create this EC2 instance. Then I will launch a new server. Then I will call the server promgraph. It's an Ubuntu server. It's going to be an Ubuntu server, and I will change it to T2 medium. Yeah. Then the key I'm going to use my key. Then the network I'm going to use is this Best Buy network. I love Best Buy in case they are seeing it. So it's going to be the public network, and I'll select an existing security group, which I have my app server SG. Then I'll change it to 10 gigs. Then I'll deploy it. Now this is it. I've deployed my EC2 instance in the cloud, and I'm going to log in into my server. Once it's done initializing, I'm going to log in into my server. So now that I've deployed it, let's log in. I'll copy this. We all know how to log into EC2 instance right now, so please. Then I will log in from my laptop. All I need to do is I will create a new tab. You can see I brought up the terminal, then a new tab. Now I want to use this grass. It's going to be green. You can use anyone. Grass is green, so me, I'm using the grass because it's green. I'll make it big. The land is green, so the grass is green. So for me to log into my server in the cloud, you have to be where you have your key pair. You have to be where you have what, the private key, don't forget. And where do I have my private key? I have it in download, so I will cd to downloads. Don't forget, don't do VirtualBox and forget everything about AWS, please. So I'll paste it and I'll log in and I'll say yes, and I'm able to log in into my, this is my Ubuntu in the cloud. Ubuntu where in the cloud. So don't forget, this is my Ubuntu in the cloud. So now I've been able to log into my Ubuntu in the cloud. So I have my Ubuntu in the cloud and Ubuntu in my laptop. So this is like cloud and on-prem. So this is like an hybrid environment. Now let's do this. This is the Ubuntu in the cloud. First of all, I will assume as root also. I'll say sudo su. I now love assuming as root. Now let's set the host name. Host name ctl set dash host name. Then this is going to call prom graph, which is the Prometheus and Grafana. Then I will do sudo su again, and you see it changes. The host name changes automatically, right? Now the first thing is we want to set up Prometheus and Grafana. We want to do what? Set up Prometheus and Grafana to monitor our Jenkins. So how do we do that now? The first thing is we will create a user for Prometheus. So I'll copy the command to create a user. We already have all of this. I will paste the command to create a user. This is going to create an application user. Now the user has been created. Now to get Prometheus application, we need to download the tarball, the tar file. So this is it, Prometheus. I also have the link sent to you guys or in the description. So I'm going to set the tarball. For your information, this is going to be on YouTube, okay? Because I'm recording it and it's going to be on YouTube. I'm recording from YouTube also, so it's going to be on YouTube. So the description is going to be under the link. Should in case you have any problem, ask or go to YouTube, okay? Don't worry, you'll see it there. So I'll click here and I'll click Linux because we are deploying Prometheus on a Linux server, Ubuntu. Then this is it. We'll right click on it, copy the link address, then go back to our Ubuntu, then download it. First of all, we can be in opt. Let's go to opt to download it. Now if I do ls, there's nothing, so let's download it using wget the link. Do we have wget? Let me see. Okay, we have wget. Now if I do ls, this is our package. It's a tar file, so we need to untar it. How do we untar this? It's very simple. Because that's a tar file, we can't work with the tar file right now. We need to untie it first. So we'll say tar-zxvf, then the name of the file. Then this is going to untie it for us. Okay, now this is going to untie it. Now this untarred the file for us. If I do the ls, now this is the untarred file and this is the tarred file. So we really don't need this anymore. Let's take out this. Let's delete it. The command is rm-rf, then the file name, the file we want to delete. Now we've deleted it. If I do ls now, we have only this file right now. We have just this file. So now this is the file we need. So let's go inside this file. It's inside this folder, I mean this directory. Let's go inside this directory. I'll say cd prometheus and voila, we are inside the directory. If I do ls to list everything we have in the directory, we have all of this. We have what? All of this. Now that we have all of this, we're going to be doing some rearrangement of these files and folders. So first of all, we need to create a folder too. We need to create a folder first of all. So I'm going to copy the command to create the folder. So this is the command to create the folder. So make -p. We want to create this folder called data in the root directory, and we want to create a folder called prometheus in etc. So this data stores all prometheus what metrics logs. This data stores all of them. By default, in a working environment, we're supposed to create what? A volume for it. But right now, because this is just a class work, we are using this. So this is what I'm going to create. Now we've created these two folders, this and this. That's what we've created now. So the next thing is, if I do ls, we want to move what? We want to move this prometheus and this prom2 into the directory, the binary directory of our server. So that's what we're going to do now. And to do that, I'm going to copy this. So now you can see this is the command. This command means move prometheus and prom2 into this bin directory, which is the bin of our server, the binary directory of our server. So we are moving this prometheus and prom2 into this bin directory. That's what we are doing. So I will enter and it has been moved. Then the next thing is this. We're going to move. Now if I do ls now, we only have these three files. Then this is the command we're going to run. So this is, we want to move this file, this prometheus YAML file, which is the configuration file of Prometheus. We are moving it into this folder. We are moving it into this folder that we created the other time. So this is it. We are moving this prometheus.yaml. We are moving it into this folder and naming it prometheus.yaml. So that's just it. I will enter and that is it. So if I do ls, these two files are of no use. We don't need them anymore, so we can actually neglect them or leave it. So we don't need it anymore. Now let's change the ownership. Now we are changing the ownership of what? We are changing the ownership of, we are changing the chown. Chown means change ownership -recursive -r. We are changing the ownership of this folder and this folder we've created. We are changing the ownership to be Prometheus. It's going to be the user, the owner, and Prometheus group. So we're changing the ownership of this directory and this directory. That's just it. And that is it. We've changed it. Now that we've changed it, we can run prometheus -version. Then if you see this, that means you've installed Prometheus successfully. If you see this, you've installed what? Prometheus successfully. Now the next thing is, how do we start Prometheus? So for us to start Prometheus, we need what? We need to create a systemd service for Prometheus. For us to be able to start Prometheus, we need what? A systemd service for us to start Prometheus. So I will paste this. This is it. We will create a file called prometheus.service for systemd, the daemon. So now it will open this file. We will be in insert mode and we will copy this to start Prometheus. And I'm going to explain everything also. Now this means the description is Prometheus once the network and after the network online. So now the service, which user is going to start Prometheus? You remember the first thing we did is to create a user called Prometheus. So Prometheus is going to be the user. The group is Prometheus. Type is simple. Restart on failure. If it fails, it should restart. Now where is the data here? This data, this is like a storage for Prometheus. You can see. So this is where it stores all the logs. Now this is the configuration file. You can see prometheus.yaml. You remember we copied this file into this folder. So this is the configuration file. All we need to do is escape and save it. That's just it. And we've saved the file. After we've saved the file, we need to enable Prometheus. So systemctl enable Prometheus. This, I run it, enable Prometheus. Let's start Prometheus now. We'll start Prometheus, and Prometheus is started. Then let's check the status of Prometheus, if it's running or not. Let's check the status. Okay, Prometheus is running, so we are good to go. Now that Prometheus is running, how do we access Prometheus? We'll copy the public IP of Prometheus. The public IP is from our EC2 instance. The public IP of don't forget, for you to log into Prometheus, you have to open port what? Port 9090. Prometheus runs on port 9090. Don't forget, please. Prometheus runs on port 9090. So open that in the security group. I've already done that in the security group. So I'm just going to log into Prometheus. Then 9090. Enter. Now this is Prometheus. Prometheus is running. Now let's see if we have any target. Now only the local host. We only have the local host, which it has nothing. We only have the local host. Now you can see it. This is the local host, right? Now we want to use Prometheus to monitor what? To monitor Jenkins. So what do we need? We need a node exporter. Now a little bit, you want to use Prometheus to monitor all other servers also. You now need to install node exporter in those servers. But right now, to monitor this same Prometheus server, we can also install a node exporter to monitor this same Prometheus server before we monitor Jenkins. Let's also monitor this same Prometheus server. Now, before Prometheus can get any metrics, we need to install a node exporter. Prometheus needs what we call a node exporter. So we're going to install a node exporter in this same Prometheus server so that we can also monitor this Prometheus server also. So let's install a node exporter. We'll go back to our Google Chrome. Then on the Prometheus documentation, scroll all the way down, you will see what we call a node exporter, and this is the package. So let's right click on it and copy the link address. Now I've copied the link address. Then let's go back to our Prometheus server. The first thing is, let's create a user first. Before even that, let's create a user for node exporter. Node exporter also need a user that will start it. So I'm going to create a user for node exporter and paste it. This is it, node exporter user, and I will enter. So the user has been created. Then I will download this is the node exporter application. I will right click and copy the link address, then go back into my server. I will cd to where? Opt. That is where I want to download it. we really don't need this anymore. We can delete it, but let's leave it. Then I will download node exporter package. I will download it, and that is it. Node exporter package has been downloaded. You can see node exporter. Now is a tar file. Let's extract it. Let's untar it. So I will say tar-zxvf, then the node exporter file, then it has untarred. If I do ls, you can see this is the node exporter. We really don't need this anymore. So I'm going to delete this. I will say rf node exporter. So we don't need that tar file anymore, so it has been removed. Now this is our node exporter. Let's go inside this folder. Now we want to go inside it. I will say cd node exporter. I'm going inside. Now if I do ls, this is what is inside that folder. Now we are going to move this. So what I'm going to do, we'll say move this node exporter. Where is it moving it to? Where do we want it to move to? Move it to the user local bin directory, which is the binary files. Okay, So we'll move it. That is all we need. We don't need anything again. That is node exporter. Now if you want to know if node exporter has been installed, just say node underscore exporter dash version. Now you can see node exporter has been installed. So how do we start node exporter? We need to create that same systemd file also for node exporter. To create the service, I'll paste this. This will create a file. The file is node underscore exporter.service. So I'll create it and I'll be in the start mode and I'll copy all of this in it. I'm going to put this in the direction underneath, so please don't worry, you're going to get it. And that is it, node exporter. You can see this is the user we created and that's just it. Then we'll save it. We'll save everything and it's saved right now. So I've saved it. Now we can enable node exporter and start it and check the status. So let me enable it first. It has enabled, so it will persist reboot. Then let's start it. Let's start node exporter. I've started it. Then let's check the status of node exporter. Node exporter is running. That is most important thing. So the next thing now is, how do we set our job? Right now we need node exporter to forward the metrics of its own server to Prometheus. So now this is what we're going to do. We are going to set the job description. And where is the configuration? You remember the prometheus.yaml file that we copied? This is it here. This prometheus.yaml file that we moved into this folder. We have to vi into it. So I'm saying vim into it. So you will go all the way down to create a new job for node exporter. So I will go down and I will be in this line. I must be in this line with this job. Please don't forget this job like this. Then we'll copy this. Then we'll copy this and paste it. They must be on the same line. You have to learn how to indent very well. So this is the name we are calling the job. And where is the target? The local host. But instead of calling it the local host, I will put the IP address. I'll put what? We can leave. Let's leave the local host in short. Let's leave this local host. Local host, then what? Node exporter. Now, this port is node exporter's port number. So you must open this port also in security group. This is the port number of node exporter. So open it also. Then that is just it. Save it. Now that you've saved it, let's check if our configuration we made in that file is correct. If there is an error, we will get to know from here. Let's check it. Okay, it says successful. It's a success. So that means everything is fine. It's valid. Now let's reload what? Let's reload Prometheus. This is the command to reload a Prometheus server. We will reload it, and that is it. Once you reload it, all we need to do is go back to our browser and refresh it. Once we refresh it, we should see a new job. You can see it says unknown. It's still loading. Let's wait and see. It's still loading. I'll refresh it again. Now it's up. You can see it's up. That means everything is fine. That means node exporter. Now see what is happening. Node exporter here is moving all the metrics of this server into Prometheus. Node exporter is moving all the metrics of this server into Prometheus. Now this is all the metrics. If I click on it, we should get some metrics here. Let's wait and see if I'm going to get some metrics there. So make sure is port 9100 open. Let me check if port 9100 is open because it's up and running. So it's up. So I think we need to make sure port 91 is open. So let's check the security group of my server. is port 9100 open. Port 9100 is not open. So let me open port 9100. So I'm going to click on the security group name and I'll open port 9100 in the inbound row. So let me open port 9100 everywhere and save it. Okay, I've opened the port 9100. So you can see it's trying to get the metrics now because I've just opened the port 9100. So let's wait and see. You can see port 9100. Before I didn't open it, I just opened it, so that's why. I can cancel this and this. Like I said, you must open port 9100 if you want this to work. So let's wait and see and get port 9100 working. It's actually up and running, so you should get those logs, those metrics for us. You should get the metrics for us because it's opened right now. So you should get the metrics for us from the local host. You can see local host what 9100 then / metrics. You understand? So you should get it for us. Let me take out these metrics first. Let me see. So oh sorry, is using, you can see is using prom graph. Let's put the IP address. Sorry, let's use the IP address because we've not set the domain, the DNS for it. So let's put the IP address of Prometheus first. See the IP address of Prometheus. So let me put it, the IP address of Prometheus column 9100 then / metrics. Let's see. Yes, so it works. So it was using the endpoint, which is prom graph, but we've not set up any endpoint yet, so that's why. So now you can see it now. This is our metrics. So now this metrics, so how did I get this metrics? I copied the public IP address of our Prometheus server. So don't get it wrong. The public IP address of our Prometheus server, because that is where we install the node exporter. I copied the IP address, I pasted it, and I put column 9100. 9100 is the port number for node exporter, then / metrics, and these are all the metrics. Now, if I take out these metrics right now, see. Let me take out these metrics. You can see node exporter. So node exporter is 9100. So this is node exporter. So node exporter has exported all the metrics in this server for us, and that is why we are seeing these metrics. So if I click on it, you can see these are all the metrics. But right now, we don't understand all these metrics. We can't really read them. So Prometheus and Grafana helps us with the graphical user interface. That's what Grafana helps us with. Grafana helps us with the graphical user interface to display the whole metrics for us. That's what Grafana does. So, and Grafana can be integrated with a whole lot of other tools. So we're going to see it. So now we're going to install. Now before we install Grafana, let's set the endpoint of our Prometheus. Now let's copy the public IP of our Prometheus. This is the public IP of our Prometheus. Then we will go to our Cloudflare. Let's create the endpoint for Prometheus. Don't forget that we said Cloudflare is what's going to be our VPN, so that Prometheus is in the cloud and Jenkins is on-prem. So with Cloudflare, these two servers will be able to communicate together. Watch out. Before I create this, let me show you something, what will be the problem if we don't do this. Now, if I want to ping, if I want this server in the cloud to ping this server on-prem, now what is the public IP of our server? If I do ifconfig, this is the public IP of our server on-prem. Now, let's ping it from our server in the cloud. If I say ping, if I want to ping it from our server in the cloud now, yeah? If I say ping the public IP, let's watch out. You see, it's not pinging it. It's not going through. It's not communicating. You can see it's not communicating. But how do we ping? Now, if I say ping, let's do something. Let's go to our Jenkins server, right? This is our Jenkins server. Where is our Jenkins? Okay, this is our where is the Jenkins application? Okay, this is the Jenkins application. Now, this is the domain. Now, because we've created domains, we've created these host names in the Cloudflare. Any domain we create here will be able to communicate together. So that's why we need to, for these two servers to communicate now, that means for Jenkins to communicate with Prometheus and Grafana, we need to use the Cloudflare to create what? A host name, a public host name for the servers so that they can communicate together. So Cloudflare helps us to bridge the problem, the issues for servers in the cloud to communicate with servers on-prem. That is the work of Cloudflare. Now, let's create a domain for what is it called? For Prometheus. We've already created one for Jenkins. Let's create for Prometheus. All I'm going to do is just add a public host name. Again, I will add it. I will say this is going to be Prometheus. Then what is the domain name? The domain name will be this. The type is going to be HTTP. Now, what is our Prometheus public IP address? I will go back here and copy the Prometheus public IP address, and I'll come here and I will paste it, and I will, what is the Prometheus port number? 9090. That's just it, and we'll create it. Now, once we create it, we don't, for us to log into Prometheus, we don't need to put the public IP address column 9090. No, all we need to do is just click on it, Prometheus, and click on it. It will open Prometheus for us. You can see it opened Prometheus for us, and if you go to the status and target health, it opened it for us. Now, if you click on it now, let's see if it's going to open it for us. It will open it for us because what is a local what is it called? Local host. I think we change it to, I think we change the endpoint, then it will. But because we didn't change it, so it's not going to open. You have to put the public IP colon 9100 to open the metrics, the node port. So this is going to open the node port for us, the metrics. So we have to actually put the public IP address column 91 then / metrics. But we can also do this though. Let's see if this is going to work. If we are going to do this, then we have to set everything in the Prometheus configuration file. But no, let's not go there because that's not the real job though. But you might want to do some hands-on to check how to change all of this also. Okay, so but for now, sure, we can change it. We can change it though, and it's going to work. We can change it and it might work. But for now, let's not change it. Let's just leave it. Now we can see that we have the metrics. See, we have this is our Prometheus server now, and we've created the endpoint from where? From Cloudflare. So these two now can now communicate together. These two can now communicate together. Now, how do we create a Grafana server so that we can view all the metrics? We need the metrics, so we need to create a Grafana server so that we can view all the metrics. Now, this is what we are going to do. we'll go back to our server and we will install Grafana on this server, and it's very simple. Let's install Grafana also. We're going to install Grafana, and we'll download this key for Grafana also. Okay, and we will echo this package in the list, and that is it. Then we'll update the server. And we'll install Grafana after updating the server. So once the update goes through, we'll install Grafana, and that's it. That's very straightforward. Then we'll update Grafana, and Grafana has been installed. We'll start Grafana. We'll enable Grafana. Okay, you see unpacking. So once it's done installing Grafana, we'll enable Grafana. Okay. Okay, it's done. I will enable Grafana. After enabling Grafana, we'll start Grafana. We all know how to do this though. It's straightforward. Systemctl to start Grafana. It started. Then let's check the status of Grafana. We check the status of Grafana is active and running. So let's get back our prompt. So Grafana is actively working and it's running. Now we'll copy the same public IP. You know, Grafana is installed in this server, in the same server. So we'll copy the public IP, which is this, and Grafana port is what? Port 3000. So you must have opened the port in the security group. Don't forget, Grafana port is port 3000. So you put 3000. And you must have opened the port in security group. If not, you won't be able to access it. And the password for Grafana is, I think, is admin, right? I don't know if I'm correct. Admin. I don't know if I'm correct. Okay, I'm correct. So new password. So you put your own new password now. Then the same thing. And I've logged in into Grafana. Now I'm in Grafana. Now let's set the same domain name for Grafana also, because that's what we need. So I'll go back to my Cloudflare. I will add another public hostname. I will say Grafana. I'll select my domain and I'll say type HTTP. The URL is going to be the public IP colon 3000, and I'll save the hostname, and voila, Grafana has been saved. Now if I click on this, it will take me to my Grafana. You see, now I'll be able to log in. Let me see. I'll be able to log into my Grafana, and voila, I'm logged into my Grafana. So you can see it's very simple, and watch out, it's secure. HTTP, everything is secure. Now we've installed Grafana. Yeah, how do we integrate our Prometheus into Grafana? How do we do it? So all we need to do is, Grafana has different data sources. We'll click on the data sources and we can select Prometheus. Prometheus is here, and we have these metrics that we can load in Grafana. So let's do that. We'll select it. And how do we, what is the Prometheus URL? So we can use, let's actually use, I want us to try this. Let's try the URL. What is the URL of Prometheus? The URL of Prometheus is this. Let's try the URL. Let's try the URL of Prometheus. You can see, which is this. This is the URL of Prometheus, in case you are wondering. This is the URL of Prometheus. So let's try it. I've never tried it. I only tried the IP address. So let's try it. Let me remove the / in front. Remember to remove the /. Let's see. Okay, it didn't complain. Then let me say save and test. It says successful. That means it worked. That means what? It worked. Then we'll go to, if we go to data source, just click on it again, you will see this now. That means Prometheus is in Grafana right now. Now let's create dashboards. Let's create what? Dashboard in Grafana still. Then I will click here, this plus sign, import dashboard. Now it's going to import the dashboard. And what is the number for the dashboard? The number for the dashboard should be let me see. The number for the dashboard is also there though. I think it's the number for the dashboard should be, who can remind me? The number for the dashboard is, let's use this. It is 1860. Okay, I will load it. Then once I load it, Prometheus, you will select this and select Prometheus, then import. Once you import, let's see, now this is our dashboard. Now we can monitor all the metrics. You see all these metrics that we are seeing here now that we can't read very well. Grafana is helping us out with a graphical user interface. See, you can see the CPU utilization. This is Prometheus server. So Prometheus is monitoring itself. That's just what we've done now. And this is Prometheus server. You can see the CPU utilization, everything. And these are all different metrics of the servers that we can read. And you can change the time. You can see last 5 minutes. You can see. So this is really fun. And you should be able to get this done. And even if you're not the one setting it up, but you should know the integration of Prometheus and Grafana, which is very important. Now, next thing is let's get this let's monitor Jenkins. We want Prometheus to monitor our Jenkins server. Now how do we do it? First of all, you will come to Jenkins, you will install a plugin. Let's install a plugin. You will go to manage Jenkins and plugins. So from plugins, let's go to, you will download a plugin called Prometheus metrics. This is what, for Jenkins, this is what collects the metrics, expose it. We will install it. Now I think we need to restart the Jenkins. I think we need to, yes, Prometheus plugin doesn't support dynamic loading. Jenkins need to be restarted. So all we need to do is just select this box. It will restart Jenkins for us. So once you select it, just wait. Jenkins will be restarted. So once Jenkins is restarted, then we'll get started. We'll start sending Jenkins metrics to Prometheus, and we will use Grafana to visualize those metrics. That's all we need. So now, once Jenkins is restarted, let's wait a little bit. Yes, it's restarted. Now I will log in. I've logged in into my Jenkins bag. Now let's go to settings. Let's go to settings. So you go to manage Jenkins and system setup. So you go to your system setup to set up some metrics you want to collect from Jenkins. What are the metrics you want to collect from Jenkins? So the system setup is loading. Let's wait a little bit. It's because I just restarted the Jenkins, so it's loaded. Yes, it's loaded now. So now we'll go to where we have Prometheus in the system. Let's go to Prometheus. Yeah, this is Prometheus. So the path is Prometheus. The default namespace is default. Then we'll select this, and the name is job, Jenkins job. We'll select this and select this. Don't disable metrics. Don't select the last one. Apply and save. That's just it. Then we'll go back to our Prometheus server right now. Then we'll do the final editing. We want to edit the Prometheus configuration file, which is, let me log in back. The Prometheus configuration file. So which is this? This is the Prometheus configuration file. We'll veer into it and we will add a new We'll add a new job, and that new job is Jenkins job. So let's copy the Jenkins job. I'm going to be copying the Jenkins job, and this is it right here. I'm going to be copying the Jenkins job. This is it. So now I remember this was where we stuck the last time before we introduced Cloudflare, because Jenkins could not communicate with the Prometheus server in the cloud. Now, the only difference is take out this. Now, copy the Jenkins URL. What is the Jenkins URL? Let's copy the Jenkins URL. This is the Jenkins URL. Just copy it. Copy the Jenkins URL, right? Now, paste it here in the server. Let's paste it here. Now, let's take out this / first. Then take out this HTTPS in front. So we'll just leave jenkins.realteachie.us because that's the real URL. So now, if you go back here, this is it. This is actually it though. This one, you can see it's jenkins.realteachie.us. So that's what we are putting, and that is the URL that we are putting right here. Column 8080. Now, this, if we put this one, if we put the URL, it should work also, because that's the URL of the server. So let's change this to be the URL of Prometheus. And what is the URL of Prometheus? It's going to be the URL of Prometheus. So instead of the node, you know that the node exporter will put localhost. So let's put the URL of the Prometheus. Let's see. If it doesn't work, we'll change it back. But let's try it. So the Prometheus is going to be the Prometheus URL. Yeah? Let's copy this Prometheus URL because that's where we have our node exporter. The same server. So let's put the URL. So we'll delete this. We'll delete this and put the URL of Prometheus. We'll delete this and put the URL like this. So let's try this so that once we click this, it should be able to route us. Okay? And I don't even think we need this 8080 because 8080 is already included in this URL. Remember, column 8080 is included in this URL. If you check it, column 8080 is included. Column 9, okay, this is facing column 9000, so don't forget. So this, we might need it because see, let me show you. So this is facing column 9090, but let's try something first. For Prometheus, for node exporter, let me see if we put the public IP. Let me see. If we put the public IP column 9090, then column 9100, because this is what it means now. If we should do that, this is what it means. Then let's see this. You see, it says wrong, so it won't work for this guy. This guy is not going to work for this guy like this, because this is going to be the public IP address column 9090, then column this. So it might not work. It might not work. So that's a problem right there. So this might not work. So what we're going to do is we'll leave the local host for this one. Let's leave the local host for this one. Let's just leave the local host the way it is. So it's not going to work. Let's leave the local host. So I'll leave the local host. Is there an S at the end? Let me see. Is there an S at the end? No S. So it's just local host. So let's leave the local host like that. So now this is what I'm thinking. We don't need this 8080 in front because it already has the 8080 in the URL. There's 8080 in this URL already. So we don't need the column 8080 in front. So let's try it. If it doesn't work, we'll put the column 8080. But for now, let's do it without the column 8080, because what we need to put here is Jenkins public IP column 8080, and that is already what we have in our Cloudflare for Jenkins. You can see the Jenkins public IP column 8080. That's what we already have there. So let's try it without that, and it should work. So after that, let's check if the configuration file is okay or not. So this is what we're going to use to check. So success, that means it's fine. Then let's reload Prometheus. I'll copy this to reload Prometheus. Now let's go back to our Prometheus and check it. I want to see that this, so let's reload this and check if it works. Fine, it works. You can see it works. Jenkins works without putting the 8080. That's what I said, because we already have 8080 in front of Jenkins, so we don't need it anymore. We already have 8080 in front of Jenkins right now, so we don't need to put that URL and still put column 8080. No, this URL just means everything here. So that means it works. That means, let me see, our Prometheus works. So we have Prometheus already. Now that we have Prometheus, how do we create this Jenkins graph in Grafana? So we'll create another dashboard. Now let me save this dashboard first in Grafana. This was the first dashboard, so I'm going to edit and save this dashboard. It's saved. Now I'm going to create a new dashboard. If I go back, I'm going to create a new dashboard. Click plus sign, import another dashboard, and this dashboard is 9964 for Jenkins, and I will say load. Then I will click the data source and I will say import. Now this is Jenkins. That means everything is working. This is Jenkins what dashboard. So Prometheus is sending the metrics from Jenkins, from our Jenkins, is sending the metrics to Prometheus. Then Prometheus is Grafana is visualizing the metrics for us. That is just the example. Integrating Prometheus and Grafana to monitor Jenkins. You can see it. Now, if we should run any job in Jenkins, let's run this job. Let's run this job again. So we are running a new job. We should get how many jobs we've run. So it's showing none because we just integrated it. It's going to be counting the job from now. So if I refresh, and we can even do 5 minutes ago. So you can see the memory is being used right now. You can see it. Let's refresh again. Once it's successful, you will see that one job successful. So you can see the memory is being used and we have 2 executor free. It should show 1 executor used right now, but it's because what we are running is not that big. And okay, it's successful. You can see it's successful. Our job ran successfully from Jenkins. If we go back to Grafana and we refresh it, let's see, it's going to show 1 job successful. So it's going to, I think it's still loading. It's still trying to get the metrics. So it's still loading the metrics and it's going to show 1 job successful. But for right now, if you keep refreshing, you should see 1 job successful from our Grafana. But right now I can see that it's getting the memory use, the JVM memory, Jenkins health is 1, everything, and you can see the metrics here. You can see it shows the job. You can see on the on the job duration, it shows the duration of the job. You can see it. You can see the job duration here. You can see the job duration. I think it took a second, 1 minute 3 seconds, 1 minute 37 seconds. You can see it on top, 1 minute 30 seconds. That's what it took. And you can see the instance. It shows the instance name, the buildable through, the Jenkins job, the pipeline, the job name, and the repo. We've not added any repo yet. So that's it. Let's refresh again. Let's see successful. You can see successful job. It shows 1. one successful job. You can see it. So this is how to integrate Jenkins, Prometheus, and Grafana to monitor Jenkins job for us. And this is just it. And you can see the execution, sorry, the executor free. Let me unmute. The execution free, you can see, is 2. The executor free is 2, and we have all of these. And this is how to integrate Jenkins, Prometheus, and Grafana. Don't forget that Jenkins right now is on-prem. Prometheus and Grafana is in the cloud. So don't forget that. Jenkins is on-prem, Prometheus and Grafana is in the cloud. Now someone said, oh, but when we stop the server, the Prometheus, the IP address will change. And at work, when you are running something like this, you have to create what? A static IP address, which is called the elastic IP in the cloud. You have to request for it. That's what you are going to be using. So instead of using the other public IP that whenever you stop your server, it will change. Now, static IP does not change. In the cloud, static IP is not called the private IP. Static IP is also a public IP that does not change even when you restart your server. That is a static IP. So or it's called a static or an elastic IP. It's a public IP that does not change even when you restart your server. So at work, companies will request for a static IP. At work, company will request for what? A static IP, an elastic IP. And you can request for elastic IP and add it to this server, but you are going to be paying for it. Once you are working on this kind of project at work, then you have to use a static IP. So you will be changing, your IPs will be changed, because the IPs is not just going to affect only Grafana or Prometheus. There are other projects that you've integrated your server with. You will now go and be changing the public IP every time you update your server and restart your server. It doesn't make sense. So most companies go with what we call a static IP or an elastic IP. Once you request for it or you create it, all you need to do is attach it to your server. So that server will now have 2 public IPs. That's what's going to happen. The server will now have 2 public IPs. You will see the first one, then you will see the second one called elastic IP. So even if you restart the server, this one will change, but the elastic IP will never change. It will just be there. So is that the elastic IP you're not going to be using till you want to release back the IP to AWS. So that's how it works. Now, any question or questions? Any question or questions? Any
Yes,
question?
I have questions.
Okay, ask me.
You were saying that in the professional side, of course, we're going to use elastic IP. That I got. And then you said we will most likely not use Cloudflare
Yes.
if they're working on AWS, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain, let me put that way, how we would go about it in that case if we had everything? I have a rough idea of how it will be, right? Just basically Jenkins is on the server, right? But in this case, you said we're going to have to use VPN. I've been looking at the direct connects, set up, checking up the virtual private gateway, but I'm not really sure how to let it interact in that case and then still have the security features that Cloudflare is giving us with ease.
Let it interact with what?
Like Jenkins and like Prometheus, right? To interact over the same like network. If everything is in the AWS server, to still have the security that Cloudflare gives us, and of course the
Okay. Okay, I understand you now. So now, if you do that, how did you secure your application? How do you secure your application you hosted it on S3 bucket? How did you secure the application you hosted on S3 bucket? Did you do the answer?
Security group, right?
No. How do you secure the application you hosted on S3 bucket? S3 bucket can host a
It's that
static
we
web page.
purchase.
Yeah? Mr. Kola?
Oh, Mr. Kelly, yes. Oh, someone was on stop.
No, I'm talking to Mr. Kola now. How do you secure your application hosted in S3 bucket, the static web page you hosted on S3 bucket? How did you secure it?
We purchased an ACL, right? It's a, sorry, we purchased, was it certificate manager?
Uh-huh.
And, we created a cost, let me try to remember. Yeah, we purchased that. We purchased certificate, we set up the certificate manager, right? That was, if I remember, like, that served as our own security, as a security in between the routing 3 and our buckets and our the buckets before using CloudFront. I remember the procedure, it's quite a while.
Okay, so exactly the same thing you did, you can do that for EC2 instance also. Secure it. You can secure it. Once you've deployed Jenkins port number is port 8080. You can do the same thing. How to secure it? First of all, you have to go create the domain name, the route 53 first, which is going to be maybe right now our domain name right here is what? See, our domain name is realteachie.us. In AWS, you can create a route 53 domain name called realteachie.us. So once you create it, you can then use it. They also have what we call subdomain. They also have what we call subdomain. You can create it and do the same thing. The same way you secure that application S3 bucket, you can secure your applications like this and they will be secure. Don't worry, you can do the same thing and they will be secure like this also. The same process. You can do that. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the same way you do it also in AWS. Okay? Now, any more questions? Any question or questions? Okay, it's 8:30 in the evening EST. We're going to be stopping here for tonight. By Monday, so all you need to do is stop the server in EC2 instance, which is the Prometheus and Grafana server. Stop it. Once you stop it, when we come to class on Monday, we're going to start it. Now, the IP address has changed. The only thing we will do is just copy the new IP address and go to our Cloudflare and edit this IP address and this IP address. That's only what we're going to do. So we're not going to be doing a lot of correction. The only thing we're going to do is just come to Cloudflare to edit our IP addresses and we are good to go. So now I want us to stop. In case once you are done, please stop your EC2 instances. Stop it. You don't have to delete it. Stop it because we're still going to use it on Monday. We still have other stages. We have SonarCube. We have what's it called? Nexus. We have Docker. We have Tomcat. We still have other stages to do. We have Kubernetes. That's another stage in the pipeline. So we still need to use this. So we're going to stop it. When we come on Monday, we start all over again. We will start from here. We will continue from here. So that's how we're going to be doing it. And for the server on-prem, my dear, you guys don't need to stop it if you don't want to stop it. You are not paying for anything. It's free. So if you don't want to stop it, enjoy. If you want to stop it gracefully and start it again on Monday or anytime you want to use it. That is how it works now. Okay? And this server is for Cloudflare. If you stop this server, then your Cloudflare won't be healthy. This nigga right here is not going to be healthy. So you won't be able to use your Cloudflare because the tunnel environment is running on our on our Ubuntu server. So that is just the idea. You can see we ran everything one after the other. I started from the beginning and we ran it to this point. If you have any issues, go to this video. This video will solve all your problems. Please. Okay? So this is the class. Do we have any questions?